Have you ever caught yourself in a lie to yourself? It's the blind spots. We all have them. We all have these places that we're going down the road. We're really sure about what we believe and how we're going to carry out those beliefs and we all have these little things that are kind of off to the side that we just aren't looking at. We refuse to look at them or somehow we miss them. I got caught in a pretty big one recently, and I felt like I really needed to come out and speak about it publicly. So, some of you may already know that I had, gosh, it's been probably 3 weeks now. We were called on by the COVID-19 task force, the FDA and the FTC, and we were called out for a post that I put out for how to take care of yourself when you had a COVID-19 diagnosis and you were at home, and between having that diagnosis and going to the hospital, there was a big lag in how they were treating people or not treating people. They were sending people home without any kind of care or without any help. And so my post went out to help that. I got hit, and I got in trouble for that post. And I think what's been most difficult for me to stomach is that I have been probably, if you've been around for a while, you know that my reputation is that I follow all the FDA regulations. If you are somebody who you want to, if you have started up a business in the 20 years I've been doing this, I always had a way. I wanted to make sure to nicely come to you and tell you what the regulations were. And a lot of that, it was my intense belief that we should have regulation, that regulation was a good thing. My rose-colored sunglasses were on, they were full on. I believed that I was part of a system that was good. I believed that by being part of the regulations, by submitting to the regulations, by doing what was asked of me and what was required to make a product underneath the auspices of the FDA and the ODA and the FTC, uh, I I felt like that was a good thing. In my world, it was a way that all of us that were making something were making us. It was a standard. It was something that the public could routinely expect as quality or as a safety measure. Because whenever you're putting something into your body, whether it's food or medicine, you should have some assurance that what is out on the market is somewhat safe. This is where my thought process was. I also was quick. Well, I wasn't quick. I often really struggled with how to tell people that I saw starting up businesses and they weren't following these regulations. I never did it, that I never went to them and told them about it without thinking really carefully, because I never wanted anybody to feel attacked or to feel like I was judging them. But I felt like it was dangerous for the maker, the person that was innocently making something to help other people, and I thought that it was dangerous for the public not to have that sort of standard of making. The problem was, um, I went for a really long time believing that I was part of a good entity. Ironically, at the same time, my family doesn't eat the food that the FDA approves. We don't believe that the FDA is approving safe food. We believe that the FDA is approving food that they have been paid to approve. We don't believe that they're approving safe drugs. They're not doing their own due diligence. We know that. They're not doing their own studies. They're relying on the studies of the drug makers to tell them whether the drug is safe or not. And then it's a larger lobbying effort. This is all stuff that I knew. But while I knew that, somehow I had compartmentalized, and I know that people do this. I know that other people do this, right? But not me. Not me. I wasn't compartmentalizing. I saw the truth for what it really was. I didn't see the hypocrisy of where I was standing until I was called out for that post. I didn't see that, here I was, I followed everything. I championed regulation here in the state of Ohio. I helped people get onto that path. I supported the FDA, all the while believing that the FDA didn't actually do good work. So why did I care that this entity approved of my products or anybody else that was making products? Why did it matter? That's a really good question, and one that I've had to ask myself over the past couple weeks, because when I got hit, one of the good guys, one of the people that was doing their very best to follow all the laws and all the regulations, I had to think about, what does following the regulations really mean? It doesn't mean that it is an absolutely safe product, because we have Vioxx, we have vaccinations that are on the market that aren't safe, that haven't been tested. We have medications that have been pulled back. We have food that is out there. High fructose corn syrup and hydrogenated oils are causing more damage on the daily, and they're approved. We have hand sanitizers at tables. My husband and I went into a restaurant probably about a year ago, and we sat down at a table, and there was this bottle of goo at the table, and I very gingerly took another utensil and turned it around, and it said FDA approved, and both of us just kind of shivered, because we knew that that wasn't a good thing. So here I was, hanging my hat on the fact that I was fully compliant with these very corrupt regulations. And what it meant to me was that I thought, I think, I believed that it gave me, that it gave a customer a sense of safety, a sense of that I was being overseen, that I had high quality. And what I forgot was that the customer, you, the people that have been in my community, the people that have followed me for a really long time, were not judging me based on whether I was compliant with the FDA, or whether I was making things in a kitchen that had the right number of sink bends. You were judging me because you knew that I cared about quality. And I thought I needed some alphabet soup letter in front of that certification of quality. And all along, what I really needed was just to trust you. It was just to trust that the consumer, that my community member would look at what I was doing, that would listen to me, that would see my heart, that would see that our doors were open and they could come and see our kitchens and our farm. And you would make that decision, and we would be supported by our community because of that. It wasn't until this past 3 weeks when I got hit by the very entities that I thought were holding me up, that were keeping me legitimate. They never intended to keep me legitimate. They never intended to hold me. We really are out here in real life. We have our faith, our morals, our heart, our word, what our communities can see about us, whether we're making a product or teaching or just being a community member that is contributing. That's all we really have. These structures that have been created are actually illegal. They actually are unconstitutional. They don't exist in a world where we understand God-given rights. They exist in a world where man is fighting for supremacy over man. They exist in a world where regulations are a constant attempt to control everything and everybody. So this is my formal, long, I'm almost at 10 minutes now. I apologize. This is my formal apology to other makers, to my students who I have taught to respect these structures. I was wrong. I was wrong and I had a blind spot. We need to make quality products when we are making something that changes the way that the body works, or improves the way that the body works, or mitigates. Our mitigate t-shirts are available now, and I will be wearing those everywhere. We need to care about the quality of what we create that mitigates for our neighbor and for our community member. But we don't need to rely on any man-made structure of how to do that. We simply need to rely on our God-given talents, our God-given rights, and the structures that are inherent in that right and in the model of creation and in the perfect systems that are in our bodies and in our world. As soon as we abandon the need for approval, the need for legitimacy, and everything that happens inside of those structures, we will be better off. I am freer and stronger today because the structure that I had been depending on, that I had walked through with blinders on, uh, it forsook me. It has forsaken me, and I am so thankful that it did, because that's what really dealing with evil is. Eventually, it will come for you. Eventually, it will bite you, and the more you submit yourself for control of a structure that is simply illegal and not based in God-given truth, the more you submit yourself to that system and you try to be a good person within it, the further you are away from actual truth, and the more in jeopardy you are daily for us, the structure to damage you, to hurt you. The only defense is to stand in truth every day. And I wasn't doing that. I was supporting the very structure that is keeping people ill. It is isolating people. It is making people sicker and sicker and more dependent. All the while, I believe fundamentally that we need to be independent. We need to be understanding our bodies, and we need to be taking care of each other. So, wow, my blind spot was so huge. And I'm really, really sorry that my blind spot encouraged other people to live with the same blind spot that I did. We are in the act of changing that now. I'm stepping away from those structures. I'm stepping away from the need for those structures. We really just need for all of us to become more dependent on truth and on our own bodies and on our own knowledge, and step away from needing something outside of us to make us legitimate, to make our knowledge okay, a university to say whether or not we're allowed to research or have an opinion or know. All of that stuff is just sending our culture away from truth and away from what it really is to live your life. Um, wow, what an experience to have that break for me. It was hard. This is something that I really felt convicted that I needed to come out and say publicly. My blind spot is open. I'm looking at myself more truthfully now. I'm looking at the situation more truthfully, and I am free, and my products are free, and the education that has been bubbling up through me is less caged. I can speak freely because I have that God-given right, and so do you. You have the God-given right to take care of your body the way you choose. Those structures, the health departments and the CDC and the FDA and all of those structures that are trying to tell people that they are the authority in their lives, it's just not true. They are they are the evil. They are the scammers and the frauds. And they want so badly for us not to see that. And people like me have been enabling that, but I am done. So I look forward to hearing your responses to this. Please let me know what you think. Drop me a note. Drop me a note as I share this on the different platforms. I really want to hear from you, um, how my blind spot may have affected you, and maybe the blind spots that you're stepping away from as well. So I will see you back here on another day. And thanks for joining me.